such a good class this early in the year. Josh, I know you've covered recruiting obviously a lot longer than I have. Mm-hmm. After everything everybody was saying about the 2023 class, this turnaround is dramatic to say the least. But aside from the obvious answers, what's going into this monster class, highly ranked so early in the year? What's Michigan doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the $1 million question, is what everyone is trying to figure out is what Michigan is doing right, compared to last year, where a lot of things seem to be going wrong. And excuse me, I think a lot of factors play into that. NIL obviously being part of it. I don't think it's all of it. I think a good majority of it is that Michigan has an established staff now that has, established relationships with recruits and coaches and programs across the country. And they didn't necessarily have that. I guess they didn't have that continuity, a new defensive coordinator after a first-year defensive coordinator that didn't really have any, ties to any recruit or any program. So, you had guys like a Jesse Minter coming in, when you're pretty much have a developed recruiting board, and you come in and you have to, pick and choose where the recruiting board started and kind of work your way in there as well. Chris Partridge, I kind of, don't necessarily include in that argument because that guy can go into any situation and recruit well. But him being an established recruiter and having established relationships and Michigan recruiting, there's some overlap between Ole Miss and Michigan when it comes to recruiting, but not a ton. But success, I think, probably is paramount, is number one. I think above everything, it's just the on-field success. You're starting
winning helps. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think winning really trumps all the other arguments that you can make. NIL obviously part of it. Established coaches with continuity and with that building relationships and something I thought was interesting when Sharon Moore was on the In the Trenches podcast this week. He kind of mentioned when asked about recruiting, how many people were recruiting against Michigan negatively because he didn't have any experience as a play caller. So I guess that's part of it too. So as I said, there's just so many different avenues and different scenarios that are currently going in Michigan's favor, which really can credit to the turnaround. But I don't think there's really one specific answer outside of winning that really kind of has helped Michigan so far.
I think the relationships piece is so underrated in this conversation. Obviously what you were hearing and what we were talking about on the boards, during 23, post 21 off season, right? That Harbaugh was the difference between the Vikings and the Broncos thing, mm-hmm. right? He was very genuine and sincere that he was going to entertain this Vikings offer and that he was interested in going back to the NFL. And he was telling players and recruits this. Versus this last cycle with the Broncos, I think Harbaugh takes the call because he thinks that's the right thing to do, whatever. But he was telling everyone he's not going.
Yeah.
Right. Very different. And then, you have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator coming out of 21, right? Gaddis is gone. McDonald is gone. And there was some talk about, was 21 a fluke, right? Which is maybe a fair thing to say, right? Sometimes you have those destiny type seasons, right? We want to see it again. And I think that as much as everyone wanted to just bash NIL and say that was obviously the only issue, the Harbaugh to NFL thing was way more real the last time around. And we're seeing the benefit of the established relationships now, right?
Yep.
That's paying off dividends. And you did it again in 2022, right? You're for real now. Right, the 21 thing wasn't a fluke. This is what Harbaugh's vision for Michigan always was,